Welcome to The Inevitable, a podcast by MotorTrend.
Hi there, and welcome to The Inevitable. This is MotorTrend's podcast. This is our podcast about the future of the car, the future of mobility, and on this special episode, the future of car design, specifically hypercar design. But before we get into it, my co-host, Ed Lowe here, has a special message just for you.
The Inevitable podcast is brought to you by the all-electric Nissan Ariya, inspired by the future, designed for the now. And right now, I have not one, but two questions. Number one, where are we and what are we doing here, Jonny?
That's right. This episode was recorded during Pebble Beach Car Week, and we forgot to record the intro up there. So we're toe deep in our SUV of the Year 2025 program. So we're in lovely Tehachapi, California.
At a Fairfield Inn & Suites conference room.
It is 9:15 p.m.
It's lovely. And question number two, so speaking of recording live at Pebble Beach, what did you see that you liked up there?
I'm just going to fast forward to the end because I thought the Concours d'Elegance on Sunday on the lawn was the most exciting I've ever seen. And I would say the most excited that younger people have ever been about Pebble Beach. Last year they had a bunch of Countachs, but this year they had two wedge classes. Plus they had those 90s race cars, the EB110 race car. They had a Ferrari F40 on the lawn. They had a Vector W8. I'm so old.
McLaren F1 GTR.
Yeah, but I'm so old. I remember seeing the Vector at the car show with my dad as a kid next to a Lamborghini LM02. So I think it really kind of resonated. Plus you had the Lancia Stratos HF0, which was actually the poster car for Pebble Beach this year. And just
all the Queens Range Rovers.
Yeah, the excitement that I saw, not only there, but also it's still happening on social media 5 days later. People were just stoked just an incredible year.
Yeah, I liked it too. I didn't see as much as you did. I had my 3-year-old son with me. It was great though because he followed my directions at the end of the whole long weekend up there. He said, "Daddy, I didn't touch anything, just like you told me to."
That's some good fantastic parenting, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, I thought the Quail was great too.
Quail was banging.
Really loved the Myers-Manx, this little the radial engine, the 3-cylinder that our pal Frank Marcus pointed out to me. Yeah. Cool to see them having that offering alongside the EV Myers-Manx that they're bringing back.
Yeah, I mean, if manufacturers are going to pull back on EVs, go radial.
Right.
But no, I mean, dude, the Quail, the roof rodeo I thought was really cool. The Eccentrica, the Diablo resto mod called the V12 was super cool. Gunther Works, that GWR thing with the air-cooled 4-cam slide valve. They're getting over 500 horsepower out of an air-cooled engine, which has kind of never been done before.
Right.
The Tudhill GT1 was so wild. Yeah, but it had such an effect on people. It was literally next to about a dozen or so Koenigsegg's, celebrating 30 years of Koenigsegg's, and nobody was looking at the Koenigsegg's. They were all staring at the Tudhill. Right. And I was getting messages like, "Bro, I'm canceling my Singer turbo design study. I'm getting the Tudhill."
Right. And a couple of, a number of production vehicle debuts. Navigator debuted up during Monterey Car Week.
Yeah.
But also at the Quail we saw vehicles from our guests, which we should talk about. So again, this episode, why we're here, is tied directly to us going to the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance and actually hosting, as we do every year, a panel up there, but this time recording it live. And we were really lucky to get an amazing panel of leading automotive designers, all supercar, hypercar designers. It was actually really quite embarrassing how many guys we got, because each one of them we would have had on as a guest for a full episode.
Should I tell the story about how day before Mate Romance's people got in touch with me and said, "You want to add him?"
Yeah, we could have had Mate also, but already I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get an hour of value out of 3 of these guys," who include our pal, former guest Sasha Selipanov, who's the founder of Hardline 27 design firm and also launched his Nilu27 analog hypercar during Monterey Car Week. There was also your pal, Davide Amantea. He's the Chief Design Officer for Automobili Pininfarina.
Who launched a Bruce Wayne car.
Yes, the Wayne edition version of,
Battista,
the Battista. And then last but not least, and the late ad that kind of blew my mind was we got your pal Mitja Borkert, who's the head of design for Automobili Lamborghini. And he was, launching a very small vehicle during the week, the replacement for the Huracan.
Which is the best-selling Lamborghini of all time. So we get to talk about all right, we get to see and then now talk about the Temerario.
Temerario.
I can't pronounce it, but the Temerario.
So.
And I got to say, this, Ed was nervous about this episode. Right. I'm really proud of the way this one came out. I thought it was a great discussion. Especially because I shut Ed down most of the way.
Most of the time because he was doing all the talking.
Yep.
So let's just get into it. Without further ado, our very special episode recorded at the 2024 Pebble Beach Classic Car Forum with 3 amazing car designers.
Hey, everybody. Wow, look at all the people. I know, there's traffic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an amazing panel discussion for you with some of the top minds, top designers in the automotive industry. We're going to get into it about supercar, hypercars, all the cool stuff you should be looking at this weekend. And I'm going to introduce them in no particular order. But let's start with Sasha Selipanov, founder of Nilu27. He's also the former designer at, he did the Bugatti Chiron. You can come and sit over here, Sasha. Thank you so much. Lamborghini, among others. And let's get, how about Davide Amantea, Chief Design Officer for Automobili Pininfarina. Davide, thank you. He's got a beautiful car here that we're going to talk about. That's fine, middle's fine, yeah. And then Mitja Borkert, Design Director, Automobili Lamborghini, in an amazing suit. Look at this guy. I mean, he makes us all look bad. Right there's fine. And I put the best-dressed guy next to another well-dressed man, my co-host, Jonny Liebermna. Hello, Jonny.
Hey!
And look at all these guys. All right. So we are recording this as well. It'll be on MotorTrend's inevitable podcast, video podcast, coming out shortly after this event. So thank you all for joining us in person and also for listening in and watching us on our YouTube channel.
And so I think the idea here is, this is called The Inevitable. It's the future of the automobile, future of transportation. But this really started because Ed, 4 years ago, posed this question to everyone at MotorTrend and said, what is MotorTrend going to look like in the year 2036? And I think we initially called it Project 2036.
Project 2036, yep.
And so that became the inevitable. But, if you go back a few years, we were just talking about this backstage, like 2008, right? Car industry had kind of been buzzing along for a century. There was this Tesla, they took a Lotus and they put a motor in it, right? And they sold 100 maybe in 2008, and it went 100 miles, and really it went about 80 miles before it ran out of battery. And today, 2024, I know in the end of 23, the best-selling car in the world was a Tesla Model Y, and then that was unseated by another electric car from China called the BYD something or other. So things changed, and we think things are going to keep changing. And these gentlemen are all very distinguished supercar, hypercar designers. And so we just kind of want to ask them, like, what does the future look like? What are they thinking about for the year 2036 and beyond? And then we can also talk about how's Pebble going and, all the stuff they launched yesterday.
Right.
And so
I was actually going to start there, and we could have thrown all that EV stuff out the window. I mean, come on, we're here at Pebble Beach. So let's just start. We'll start with Sasha. I heard you showed something here. You want to tell us what did you drop here during Monterey Car Week?
Yeah, so we had a pretty epic few days. We showcased our startup's first product, which is the Nilu Hypercar. It was a long road getting here, obviously with the experience that the founding team has, myself and my wife, with Koenigsegg, Genesis, in my case also Bugatti and Lamborghini. It was really a long road to start this car company and to deliver a vision for our first product. And it really kind of addresses the overarching question here that Jonny started with: what's the future of sports cars? And in our opinion, what our brand stands for is that the future of sports cars isn't about technology. It's not about a religious kind of commitment to tech. the future of sports cars and hypercars in particular is about the emotional fulfillment that they deliver, right? And whatever technology delivers that emotional fulfillment is the technology that should be used. It's a little bit of a flipping the coin, because it used to be the other way around, where you would commit to a technology as your headlining, feature, and then you design around that tech. We want to stop with that completely. And I also believe that the numbers game is another thing that is, in my mind, completely finished, because you have cars like Model S Plaid pretty much destroying everything else in terms of its outright acceleration ability, and you have cars like the RB17 coming onto the market someday soon, or the Valkyrie promising 5.5 turn-in cornering speeds. You see Formula One drivers training day and night to be able to withstand that sort of lateral load. I don't actually think that top speed is a parameter anymore either, because I have personally driven 230 miles an hour on public roads, and
that's it.
No point in time. Yeah, I know, Jonny, you've beat me there, but
I went a little quicker one time.
Yeah, I never wanted to throw another 100 on top. Like when you're going that fast, especially on a public road, I've also spoken many times to Koenigsegg test drivers, for example, and I know how intimately challenging and actually terrifying these speeds are. So I don't necessarily think that coming up with a hypercar that says we'll have even faster performance than Model S Plaid, or even higher cornering ability than Valkyrie, or even higher top speed than the Esco Absolute, that any of those targets are appealing to me. What's appealing is the back to the roots driving joy, and using as little interfaces between the driver and the road as possible. So if you imagine the chain of command between performing any sort of action on the inside the car, turning a wheel or pressing on the throttle pedal or a brake pedal, how many different systems get engaged and filter your inputs before they actually get channeled onto the road. We want to reduce that to the minimum, to the very leanest possible equation, and then emphasize, instead of the tech, we wanted to emphasize the purity of the driving experience. And what's also very important for me, borrowing a bit from also my times at Lamborghini, is the Countach factor, the holy factor. It's really important that when you see the car, the first emotion you feel is the holy shit factor.
And to that end, it's a naturally aspirated V12 6-speed manual.
7-speed manual.
7-speed manual.
The V12 is bespoke, developed for us by Hartley Engines out of New Zealand. It's a 6.5-liter hot V, 80-degree 12-cylinder, pumping out about 1,070 horsepower at 11,000 RPM, and it's fully exposed in the rear of our car, where it's celebrated in a way that a watch mechanism would be celebrated in a mechanical, ultra expensive watch.
But let's turn now to, let's go to Davide for a second, because you have kind of the opposite of that, but you do have, and I've driven it, double the power. And I remember I drove the Battista, Pininfarina Battista, and I remember, it was like 1,900 whatever horsepower, and I remember getting out of it and thinking, finally, I know the answer to the question, how much is enough horsepower? Because I thought it was great. So what, like, you have a counter opinion, or if you will, or direction. So could you tell us about what?
Yeah, what news are you making here?
So this year was fantastic feeling, because it's the 5th year in a row the Automobili Pininfarina presenting something. We started a long time ago in 2018, and of course, being pioneer in some way always put you on the spot of the judgment of the people, like Jonny did. Our goal is to establish the most pinnacle luxury brand. So great news in this forum, just to say that this is our goal. We choose the technology that for us was the best example to upset a challenge with this heritage in design. So an electrical can be beautiful, and we try to make it the answer for customer, yes. Could be fun to drive. This is what we are doing one by one. So anyone that wants to try the car, it will be really a pleasure to have you. But was an excuse to establish the pinnacle luxury brand, and we want to put the KPI and the accent on the design. So I'm quite lucky to be in that spot. And the performance, I agree with Sasha, is how you handle it and what is the emotion that you transmit with your customer. So I think that in the future, more than fixing parameter and number, is how you deliver the total experience to the customer. Since the purchase, meeting the designers, talking with the company, and be a part of a family, and not just purchasing a random car. So this is what we are trying to do. Is the 5th year. We presented the first electric one-off in the world, based on the same platform than Battista, for one commissioned client, so it's already sold. So he asked us a crazy question, like, could you deliver the car in 12 months? You know, guys, how much work there is behind that. And of course, we celebrate also an incredible opportunity to shape, together with Warner Bros. And DC, a Bruce Wayne Batman car, and Automobili Pininfarina. We are really happy that we can represent in the real world the car of this amazing character this year.
And then we got Mitja here, who was given the small task of designing the replacement for the best-selling Lamborghini of all time, right? The work on.
We can say so, yeah.
It was the best-selling Lamborghini.
For sure. I mean, it's next to the Urus, of course, yeah. But
and then he's launched the car yesterday, which I saw. It has a V8 turbocharged twin turbo that revs to 10,000, but also 3 electric motors. So powertrain-wise, you're sort of splitting the difference of what these two are doing. So what do you tell us about the car, and tell us about Lamborghini's philosophy within.
Tell us the
terms of
name. Please pronounce the name correctly.
okay, how would you pronounce the name?
No, I'm not going to. Come on. Okay. We're being recorded. Come on, go.
Okay, so first of all, it's Lamborghini Temerario.
I can't roll my R.
I can even not, the R needs to be the Italian
yes.
R. Yeah,
Temerario.
So
oh, do it again.
Temerario. So, which means, he's fearless.
And it was another bull, right? 1875.
Yes, of course.
Fighting
bull.
Okay.
In Lamborghini, we have a clear philosophy to give the name after a fighting bull. So for us, it's a great moment. Personally, I always love to be here in the Monterey Car Week. For Lamborghini, it's an important presentation every year. We have here the Lamborghini Temerario and the Lamborghini Temerario Alleggerita to make it even more challenging in terms of name. It's a fantastic car. It is a world premiere. It's a very agile and very compact car. You can see in the design, in every millimeter, it will be fun to drive. And I fully agree also what Sasha said, in Lamborghini, we are a dream car that you don't need, but you want to have. And it's always about vibrations, power, and the way you feel it. Yeah, and this is our number one effort that we do. That you jump into the car. It has to look cool. It has to have a perfect interior. But you need to feel a machine. You need to feel a machine that is giving you this luxurious feeling, and this is what we have achieved with the Temerario. Let me just quickly add one experience. My first days when I joined Lamborghini, I was sneaking around. I was walking around the factory, and I have seen an Aventador in the production line without the engine. And I was looking into this empty space, and in this very moment, I understood what is a Lamborghini about. Because we, as designers, we are addressing this fantastic powertrain. Today, we have a hybrid lineup, so all of our cars are hybrid. But for us, it's always important to understand, this is the very heart of every Lamborghini.
So, as you can tell, we were very clever in the arrangement of our guests. We have naturally aspirated V12 manual, we have pure electric supercar, and then we have hybrid, best-selling, iconic Lamborghini. 3 different approaches. Also, during a week where they are highlighting the wedge class on Sunday. So tomorrow you'll see a lot of very cool spaceshipy wedge supercars,
including the Aston Martin Bulldog. Just got to get that out there. Very excited to see that running.
I want to get back to that and talk to these guys about some of the influences for these designs. But I'm curious, and this might start a fist fight. Would any of you like to? These are all debut vehicles this week. Would you like to offer any critiques of your colleagues' vehicles and give them any pointers or your impressions of their cars?
Look, I personally have walked the road many times to have full understanding of the challenges and or the magnitude of accomplishment what these guys have done and what we're doing. So any design feedback usually happens behind closed doors, because that's just how we go. We're also friends. We know each other for many years, and having a vehicle that passes through all the gates, that passes through all the market requirements, passes through all the marketing input, engineering, homologation topics, crash testing, emission certification, dealer previews and dealer conferences. It's just not easy to single out design at this point in time, especially in a bigger corporate environment, and pin it onto the designer in that way, as it was maybe in the 70s, where carrozzerias were so much more free in the way they express things. And perhaps turning it a little bit, sorry for being selfish in this respect, but turning it a bit towards us again, it felt very liberating designing this vehicle, especially because it's my dream from my childhood, and not having layers of management or investors or just other people telling me what not to do. It was an incredible experience. From that point of view, our current project in my career really is a standout.
So, put another way, you're saying Mitja probably had the hardest job, right? Because his car is going to be has the iconic...
A lot more board members saying, how much?
Yes, exactly.
No, let me add, not only the hardest job, but also the job with the most responsibility and pressure to deliver, because the company will pay salaries to hundreds of employees, and your success on the market really defines the well-being of families that work for that company. So I take my hat off, and I'm only praising. Yeah.
I mean, it's important, of course, always to understand, for every customer, for all the experts, designers are working with full passion. A design team is working on a product, is working on the future, and everyone is really involved, doing really the best. Design is something that when you have a world premiere, the thing is out. For us, it's like a baby that,
And you've been looking at it for 6 years.
Exactly.
And so you have a 6-year-old view of it.
Exactly.
And everyone else has to make a snap hot take. And we had an interesting discussion at breakfast this morning. Yeah. And I said, how's the reception? And you said, it was really funny. You said, well, haters are going to hate, but people that I respect have said nice things about it. And another really good point I thought you brought up, you said that like the last Huracan was the STO and the Technica, and they're wild, they have wings, they have things sticking up out of them, and this is the kind of like what the Huracan was back in 2014. This is the first iteration. It will dragonize or turn into a more snarling Lamborghini, but I thought it was just that's not how we look at it. We're just like Instagram quick, this, that, the other. So
I mean, these days, having Instagram, having social media, the audience is sometimes, or it's all the time too quick, too fast. The feedbacks are not reflected, and this is a little bit the mistake of today. I spoke with Michael Mauer, the head of design of Porsche and the group designer of the Volkswagen Group, and he told me, Mitja, look, after the Porsche 356, when in 1963 the Porsche 911 was presented, everyone was like in shock.
Yeah.
All the 356 guys were saying this car is not a Porsche. Yeah, so
too fat, it's too heavy, back seat. They've lost the brand betrayal. They've lost the way. Porsche's done.
So therefore, I can only invite every car guy to enjoy the cars, to reflect, and then in the end of the day, car design is done for the next 50 years, for the next 100 years. We want to do something that is timeless. And but again, for example, yesterday we had the presentation at the Quail Lodge with the Lamborghini Temerario, and I really enjoyed the people coming over. Orazio Pagani came, said, wow, it's a fantastic design. Ken Okuyama came over, said it's a fantastic design. Walter de Silva, that I really admire, came over, said it's a fantastic design. You told me you like it.
Yeah.
For me, this is already filling up the bottle of happy. No, I mean, in the end of the day, as you say, we are...
Me and de Silva, as long as we get it,
we are, as a design team, of course, always fighting for the best solution, but there's also what Sasha said, there's always a board. So you have, when you work for a bigger company, of course, you have board presentations, you have moments where the board is coming in and they just come out of an ugly meeting where they had to have a difficult decision.
Yeah, we're laying off a bunch of people, and
and the next week they come in relaxed. As a designer, as a leader, you need to feel the moment. You need to take them virtually by the hand and bring them into the future. And we are able, as designers, to do the best job possible if our surrounding, if our team that is surrounding us, our designers are letting us go into the future.
But Davide, let me ask you, because Pininfarina has such a tremendous, really, design. Pininfarina is not known for anything else, really. You're starting to be known for producing cars. So what is it like? Like, you know, Sasha has his wife. Mitja has the Volkswagen Group
have also
board.
the wife, you know.
Well, yeah, but she's not. And what kind of pressures do you have?
For sure, carry on an heritage so big. Sometimes I feel embarrassed and not ready yet to carry on, honestly, because Pininfarina for me was the dream when I was a kid. So,
but that's natural imposters. I still get that. You know, I shouldn't be up
feeling
here.
really. I don't know. It's like being the son or the daughter of a famous person. So it really takes a lot to digest. So this is the first challenge. But Paolo Pininfarina was really supporting on that. He was really close to us. He was the one actually that was pushing us to there. The example is Pura Vision, something that if you see from the picture is unconventional and people doesn't understand what it is until you are not facing. But when I still remember his face when he saw it the first time and he say like, yes, we have to dare. This is a true Pininfarina. So try to innovate also where people maybe at the first look find something strange. This is the courage that we want to put ahead. The problem is that of course I'm no one. So I'm just at the beginning of something, and sometimes I feel too much pressure. The second is that my boss, or our boss, are the client. In the volume that we are working, is the client that have to really pay millions for something that must be collectible and keep the value for the future. This is a difficult question. So that's why we are putting all our energy to understand exactly what is he looking for, and we try to design as much as we can crazy things for, you know, makes the wow effect on the face of the customer. Just a stupid example. The last car that we presented has a cigar humidor in between the seats.
Oh, good.
Because it's a cigar lover. So we imagine the face of engineer when they look at me and say, do you want to put a cigar humidor there? But this is what the customer wants. So this is my part of the story that I want to share.
I would like that.
Did you feel any additional pressure with this Warner Brothers? So you've done this collaboration with the DC Comics Batman franchise to create Bruce Wayne's car. This is and where will it be? Will it be on the concept car lawn tomorrow?
No, because we have our Giardino di Pininfarina on the 17-mile drive.
Okay.
And actually, this evening there will be an important dinner with them. I can share a quick story. At the beginning, when somebody called us and say, I want to talk with the chief design officer, I pick up the phone call and I say like, guys, this is a scam, cannot be. You know, like, and then they say, share the details, and then we receive the official invitation to talk with them because they choose us to represent in the real world Bruce Wayne and Batman, and this was a shock. And of course, we try to represent with the product that we have, you know, not starting from scratch, try to do something for them and a possible client and represent the character, the personality. And they check, trust me, every single millimeter, Easter egg, logos, concept, what we are saying. So it was difficult in that sense. On the other side, it was really a joy. Meeting Jim Lee, he sketched the car, he's gonna sketch the car for the customer. The overall experience is exactly what we are looking for. So a customer, as he will have an overall experience aside of having a really highly collectible car.
Yeah, Jim Lee is the DC comic book story artist that's most responsible for the current stage of Batman. I was asking one of your PR people, why did they choose, like, why would you put the Batman logo, and specifically that one, on Bruce Wayne's car? No one's supposed to know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, right?
No, actually, I really love their storytelling because the main character here is Bruce Wayne, because we are talking about trying to establish a connection to the hyper luxury. So that's why they say Automobili Pininfarina is really have this kind of sophisticated elegance that could match a possible Bruce Wayne. So, and then the alter ego Batman is part of one single character. So even as I'm a big fan. So when you're referring to them in this way, it's not two people. It's just one person that has the alter ego. So that's why it's really sophisticated, and they're really picky on that, and they deserve it to be like this because he's one of the most famous characters in the world. I love him. Doesn't have superpower. It's cool.
Let me ask. So tomorrow's the big day, the big show. Eventually, I predict, and I think very accurately, all three of you in the future will have cars that you've designed that are going to be shown on the lawn. Right? And when you're older, when you're gone, is that ever in your head when you're sitting there with, well, I know, Sasha, you use a computer, but if you're with your...
Jonny, nobody's going to be gone. Our consciousness will be uploaded.
Right. When you're uploaded to the cloud.
Looking
down from the
Our
cloud.
brains will be in jars.
But when you're sketching, does that ever enter your head, or is that something like, oh, yeah, that's crazy? Like, what's that like to have this, because you'll outlast yourself?
That's a really good question, and it is actually very important for me because I like music, for example, and for me the awesome thing about music is that it doesn't have an expiration date. That something truly wonderful lives on as long as you want to hear it. You can just go ahead and listen to it, even if the artist is long since gone. Their art isn't becoming irrelevant. Once they stop touring, there's still recordings left, and I put a lot of, well, we all do, but I'm speaking from my side of the fence here. I put a lot of heart and soul into the cars that I work on, and they cost me a serious amount of psychological and emotional damage, not only good, but also damage. And I hope that the sacrifices made by my family and people around me and myself ultimately bring pleasure and joy for longer than just the typical product life cycle. That feels like a wasted effort, although of course it converts into financial success for the company and pays the salaries I mentioned earlier. But in a true artistic sense, in the sense of kind of being a creator, you of course hope that the love and pain that you put into your work can somehow live on. I guess a lot of our personality also goes into those cars. So in some way they are weirdly avatars of us and of my voice. So if I'm not around, perhaps some of the emotions get baked into them and live on and bring joy to those after.
Mitja, same question.
Yeah, I have not yet thought about this topic, I have to say. So therefore I'm saying, better, positive feedback is welcome now, not when I'm dead, I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, good point. That's a very good point.
So, no, I mean, I like also the music topic of Sasha. In our case, or in my case, I like to compare Lamborghini also a little bit with music. No, in the end of the day, a car design itself is like there's a rhythm around the car. So, for example, Temerario is having this hexagon, and this hexagon is the rhythm, the beat that is designing this car all around. In Lamborghini, of course, we are aiming for a timeless design. We want, for sure, no one will ever throw away a Lamborghini. So we want a beautiful Lamborghini also in 20 years and 50 years, and it's very sustainable. No,
it's different than like designing a mid-sized family SUV, which is kind of disposable. This, I'm sure the numbers like 99% of all Lamborghinis ever made are still on the road, something like that.
In front of you are sitting the most sustainable people on this planet, because we are creating dream objects that will survive in 50, 100, 150 years. Yeah, this is clear, and that's why a timeless design is very important. You need to think about it. It's like that. The design has to be timeless. In Lamborghini, we play a rhythm with the design language. As you know, Lamborghini is about the silhouette line. You can recognize a Lamborghini from far away by the silhouette, by the architecture, by the front view that is defined, by the way, by the Countach with the strong inclinated side windows. But the rhythm, the music, is like an artist that is surviving 20, 30, 40 years. It's not a big secret. My favorite band is Depeche Mode, and it's a band that is now on since 40 years, and you can only survive such a long period if you have your DNA, but you are then always playing a new song, a new rhythm, a new beat, a new sound, and the people will recognize that as the band, but they are always transforming themselves into the future. And I see this like Lamborghini. So the music that we play is Lamborghini is our band. But the Temerario, the Revuelto, all these cars are playing a new song, a new rhythm. One is a bit more rock and roll, one is maybe techno, and the other one is a little bit, I don't know, a mix of both of that.
Right. It's interesting because, and I've said this to you specifically, but I think it applies to every, hypercar, supercar designers generally. Like, you sort of have the easiest job in the world because all you got to do is like, you want to make a 12-year-old boy look at your car, jump in the air, and start screaming, right? That's kind of the job, but you can't just copy and paste. They've got to look different. They've got to do different things. So Davide, like, how do you think about like the past of what a supercar was and a hypercar was? And I think Sasha's right and Mitja's right. It all kind of goes back to the Countach, was really like when the world was like, whoa, this is a spaceship. But like, how do you take that and filter it forward? Like, what's that process?
What a question. So it's really complicated to define what will be in 20 years' time something successful or not. But at least in the heart of the designer, we are the purest, closer things to the customer, because we have the balls to see the project from the heart, not from the Excel file that bring the initiative to square one, green, thumbs up, right? So we are the killer of engineer and business case. But aside of that, what we want to do is challenge all the system and putting always on the edge to create something, I agree with both of my colleagues, that maybe leave the sign for forever, and maybe will be meaningful, not today, not tomorrow, but in 10 years and 15 years. So I have a poster, maybe to make an example of what I'm trying to explain, framed at home that say, remember why you started. And my dream was not becoming famous, maybe rich, yes, I'm not there yet. I cannot buy a Battista, but still working on it.
Same.
But
I hope your boss is listening.
Exactly. And my dream was to try to create at least something, one car or a part of a car that people maybe in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, I'm like Mitja, I love to think by myself that I'm alive. But maybe my daughter, my little daughter, 2 years old daughter, can say, my dad worked on that. And then if he's going to say with his boyfriend, I'm going to kill him, but he say, oh, look this car. And then she can say, he's the first one to create that specific air intake. Was my father when his team to work on it. This put the smile on my face. Then, of course, success, company, it's something that comes all together in the world that we are. But if you ask the kids inside of me, in the future, I really believe that super sports car, hypercar, are the segment that we stay forever. Doesn't matter the technology, but what the story and the passion that there is behind every engineering and process to get there. At least this is for me.
So I want to, that's great, because it brings us kind of back to where we started, and with Sasha's first answer regarding the powertrains, right? Like, EVs have made sort of commodified speed, right? Like, who cares? 0 to 60, and now it's under 2 seconds. It's in 1 second.
Look, the Romance Navara holds every acceleration record there is,
right.
And then they released a more powerful version of it yesterday.
Right. So
right?
So then what defines, you said emotion, but we haven't really talked about the look, everything you're doing from the sketching and the clay modeling. How do you put that emotion or whatever it is that needs to define these hypercars? How do you summarize that?
Well, I guess I can elaborate a little bit. In my mind, when you have a stat like a 0 to 60 acceleration, and actually Jonny and I kind of brainstormed on that topic through the last few weeks. I don't want to have a number next to that. I don't want to say acceleration of this car is this and many seconds to 160 miles per hour. I want the message to be, it depends on the driver. It really just depends on the driver. It's about you developing a relationship with a car that you own and learning to apply all of its torque and all of its power, working that throttle pedal and making sure you shift at the right time and perfecting your shifts. And that level of engagement with a vehicle makes the stats that much more exciting when you can achieve them with your own talent and with your own ability, instead of just switching on a button that says, here's your launch, or here's your mode, and pick the right mode, pick the right deployment strategy for your battery. And you see people going through all these menus and screens trying to get their cars primed and ready for action. There should just be 3 pedals, a shifter, a steering wheel, and they should be so satisfying in this kind of mechanical way. I'm really talking about our vision. I'm not saying that for whatever reasons others have got it wrong, God no, but what I believe in and what our company is going to be doing is engaging the driver at every step of the way and making sure that the stats are only relevant to that driver's level and skill and talent and ability to improve. And that also, in my mind, creates a longer lasting relationship with a vehicle, because the more you perfect it, it becomes more like you own a horse, and that's your horse, and that is your friend. And I want to make sure that by going back in terms of technology to the roots, we enable that more intimate relationship between the driver and the vehicle. That I guess is the summary.
And just to elaborate on the driver dependent for the 0 to 60, like, you know, the Tesla Plaid famously hit 60 miles an hour. I think, what do we get, Ed? We got like 1.99999
on a prepped surface.
Yeah, fair. But it's 1,020 horsepower. Well, the Rimac Navara R they showed yesterday is 2,200 horsepower, and I think they said 1.75. So it's more than 100% more power to knock off 0.2 seconds. So it's just become this
yawn.
It's just become this like kind of meaningless endeavor, and so yeah. So I think that is interesting. That said, and Davide, I'd like you to refute this. I did do a full launch in your car, which again is 1,950 horsepower. Well, it doesn't make a difference, but like
Enough.
I loved it. Like yeah, okay, it's over. Except that was quicker than a Plaid, and like. Yeah, and I've done the Plaid. I've done the Lucid Sapphire, which is crazier than the Plaid. But then I did that thing, and sure, it's over, but it's also still fantastic. Like it was special. You know. It was,
thank you. I mean,
whoa.
The thing that is difficult for us that we are a really small company, so we have to deliver this experience one by one. We are not left a prototype to spare or to spread around the world, but not because I'm working on it, but it's what we try to give to the customer is the feeling of extreme grip, safetiness by driving so much power that is more than enough to have fun, and lateral acceleration is something that surprises you. The car, it is heavy for being a sports car, but it's not that much when you take the steering wheel, and then when you start to drive, you have immediately the smile on the face. This is what we are trying to do.
True story.
I'm a car guy, so I love exhaust pipe too. I'm driving that things every day, but we are not trying to replace nobody here. Actually, we're trying to create something highly collectible. This is the goal. And maybe you are happy, but I can say for the first time worldwide that we are Automobili Pininfarina and we want to design cars. We never say what we are. We are a luxury company, and maybe in the future, actually, who says that we are only electric?
Fair. Mm-hmm. And Misha, I was going to ask you, I remember when you were talking yesterday, or when Winkleman, I think, was talking, he said that the new one has, the Temerario has 13 modes. Was that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Sasha's saying no modes, 13
too
modes.
many, according to Sasha.
What? Speak about what Lamborghini's up to with that.
I mean, we do believe in a holistic approach. Let me quickly go in
Please.
Let's get a different thought. When I was 14, my first little motorcycle had 3 horsepower. We went into the woods. We were crossing around and we had the fun of our lives. Then later on, I took another motorcycle with 10 horsepower. Then my first car, I'm from East Germany, was a Trabant, 26 horsepower. No one knows this car, but it's...
By the way, maybe 26 horsepower.
Maybe 26 horsepower. Then I was aiming for 150 horsepower Honda CRX, because at the time I was dreaming about, I was a fan of Senna. I wanted to have this car. It was fitting to me, the CRX. Yeah? So, but you know, I think when all of us remember on our first cars, motorcycles, whatever, they always gave us goosebumps, always, no? And it doesn't matter, 3 horsepower or 10, or later, today I have a Panigale Ducati 215 horsepower. It is not about just the pure power, it is how you provide this power. Yeah? And the goosebumps in Lamborghini, again, coming back to the holistic approach, is first of all, you need sound. First of all, you need vibrations. You need to have a cool look from the outside. You need to have an interior that is engaging you. We do believe in physical buttons. You will always, you know, when I joined Lamborghini, you know, I was waiting like a child to, you know, for the first time to switch on this engine, lifting our cover of our stop button, which is really iconic. So it is the general, you know, it's all the mix of everything that is creating the goosebumps. And you can have the goosebumps with 200 horsepower, as I guess I never drove it with 2,000 horsepower, but I'm inviting myself now.
It's a pleasure.
It's pretty goosebumpy.
Yeah. Yes. So, but in the end of the day, and also here, design is for sure also in a way in the lead, you know, because we are then designing all these experiences, and in the end of the day, we are all here together to create those goosebumps.
Let me ask you, because again, another thing that all three of you have in common is right now, currently, you're all designing cars that nobody needs, but people dream about, right? You all were trained. Was there ever any training like, hey, this is the designing dreams class, or was it always like, all right, here's, you know, we're going to be pumping out commodities, and here's how you maximize spaces and minimize costs? Was there ever any training, or is this your passion led you to design hypercars and supercars and dream cars?
I think, I mean, we are, as designers, always the first fan of our brand. We are the ones that know perfectly the history. We know we have the talent and also how to translate this history into a future. We have all this imagination and this talent, and that's, I think, the driving force that a company always can have. Yeah? And inside of Lamborghini, for sure, this is very important, because that's exactly creating this inspiration.
Yeah, so I guess from my point of view, I started my career in Volkswagen Group, and I worked on Jettas and Touaregs and Golfs almost half of my career. Of course, I always dreamed of creating hyper sports cars. As a child, I was in love with sports cars, Formula One, racing in general. So there was definitely a career, let's say, vector that I was keen on. Whether it was going to come to fruition or not, I didn't know back then. It did, thankfully. So what is really important for me in every project, be it hypercar or a golf cart, doesn't matter. It's the ideals of form following function and doing things that make sense. And when I'm allowed to exercise these very puristic, very simple, very basic ideas on a project, it gives me reward. It's very difficult in the regular car segment to stick to these beliefs, because regular cars are now objects of fashion. They get kind of replaced every 2.5 years with the next generation. They are disposable. I don't actually appreciate the idea of disposable products, because that just feels to me wrong. I'd rather discuss the sustainability from that angle than outright, I don't know, emission standards or tightening of regulations. I think longevity of the product is more important, and making it consequential in terms of design following function is what gives me the satisfaction. And in the hypercar world, I found opportunities to express that belief. In the regular car world, I'm still waiting for a car company to do products that are meaningful in this Bauhaus way.
Davide.
I agree. The only training is be yourself, do mistake, rework your thoughts, adapt yourself, do mistake again. So this is the path that all designers have to pass through. You have to be judged by multiple people, that they see the project from different perspective. When you are younger, you are so attend to every single line, that everyone touch your line, say, no, it's perfect like this. You have to learn how to compensate that. Now that
nobody likes editing, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm wearing the jacket of a boss, I understand the pain when the people say like, no, the bumper should be like this or whatever, but there is a reason why. And I think that the only training is that. So continue to, don't lose the capability to dream, even if you are constrained by a big corporate or you're working with a customer. So that's why I have a big admiration, the very big admiration for what Sasha is doing, because honestly, it takes really big balls to do it. He's exposing himself. And what the people don't understand, the perspective from designers, that we have really the courage to showcase what we are dreaming of. And everyone from their sofa to judging who knows and who dare to say something in the process of 5 years, 6 years of process, why the line is not perfect as it is. But we are not stupid, we like what you like. But the thing is, like, we have to work really hard to keep the car, the final car, closer to the dream. And trust me, trust us, it's a really hard job. It's a really hard job.
I mean, I do believe also in the combination of design and performance. All of our cars, they have high top speeds and they have an incredible performance. So therefore, it is today absolutely important that a designer is also then understanding this team play, this interplay, this cross-functional play with the engineers. You know, you were striving this before. So maybe, I don't know, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, there was more freedom. But on the other hand, the technology that we have in our hands today is allowing us things that were also impossible to create some decades ago. So therefore, in my team, I always make advertisement for the philosophy to work together. In Lamborghini I mean, you know perfectly, it's a small family, it's a small brand. Yep. So to solve a topic, you can just walk over to the next office and you talk about it and you solve it, and you can feel this in the products.
But that sort of collaboration, and I've been doing this long enough now that I've seen that changing kind of across the industry. But I mean, famously, I believe it was Lamborghini where, you know, somebody was going to design something and the engineer said, "You make the wrapper for the engine. That's your job." You know, and so there was no collaboration. It was like, you know, so it's have you noticed this, especially maybe Sasha, when you were doing Jettas and Touaregs, like, were designers talking to engineers, or was it just like, here's the hard points, do your best?
It's a very important point, and that's also what has led me on the path of starting my own company. Traditionally, designers have a very clearly defined role in the process, and while a lot of responsibility is on the shoulders of the designer, because ultimate market success very much depends on whether the customer likes the product or not, so responsibility is there. But on a strategic level, when it comes to vehicle architecture, packaging, dimensions, componentry, supply chain decisions, you're lucky, in my experience, if you're a fly on the wall in those conversations in a bigger company. You're lucky if you're accidentally part of a board meeting where you're presenting your design strategy and you're told you can stick around and hear the rest of the conversation. And that frustrated me as a car guy, because I never saw my role as that of a designer. I want to be a car creator. I don't want to just style the outside. And all of us in our positions, I'm sure Mitja is doing that every day, and Davide, fought for more responsibility and slightly more control over the product's entire development process. And for me, that level of engagement first came at Koenigsegg when I worked alongside Christian, and he opened all the doors for me. Everything that I was curious about, it was, doors are open, go for it, you know, and found myself designing things like headers for the Jesko, doing the intake and the exhaust manifold on that car together with my design team, and learning about subframes and learning about different materials and how they react to heat and how you can repackage it. Sections of the monocoque, building new crash structures, going in depth into a vehicle, and slowly becoming more of an engineer. I don't think of myself as a designer anymore. I want to turn that page of my career and become a creator of vehicles, and for that, intimate knowledge of engineering, because you shouldn't be pulling the blanket onto the design side. You should be pulling the blanket onto what makes a better product side. And then that means letting go also of your roots as a designer and thinking more about the whole vehicle.
Yeah, that's interesting, because
Mitja's got something.
I would like to add also to Sasha's speech. we are basically also at the dawn of a year, because we were speaking about the year 2035 future. No? So we are, as designers, we are on the dawn also to have more influence in the future. So a lot of companies are now talking about design-driven companies. You have already Thomas Inglert, that is a designer, being a CEO of a car brand.
Polestar, yeah.
So and Polestar, yeah. So you see a dawn, you see the race, and you see the importance of design. So,
and I mean, Horatio Pagani, he,
for example,
he was a, interior designer at first, and the next year,
Exactly. So I assume that in 10 years from now, or in 15 years from now, you will have a much higher influence from designers, because, as we say, we have anyway the cross-functional, the design object is always the melting pot of any problem anyway. If something is not working, you need to discuss this on the design model. If you want to make a decision for the future, you need to take the design model. If you want to decide the wheelbase or whatever, you need to have this design model. So designers today, and this is for me always important, we are much more disciplined than maybe 20 years ago. What I personally don't like is, for example, this image of the designer that is sleeping until 10 o'clock in the morning, going a little bit of surfing, and then at 2 o'clock he has this magical idea for the sketch. It's not the case. We are highly professional. We have fantastic teams. We are there when it's necessary, on the weekend, at the night, whatever it takes. We are there. And but the companies are understanding this, and that's why I'm very optimistic that design will be more and more important also in the future.
I noticed none of you are wearing black turtlenecks, so that's refreshing.
Right. So I want to be conscious of time. We have about 10 minutes left.
Should open it up for questions.
Let's go one place first. First of all, where can we see Nilu 27?
I just got a text message before coming on stage that they were unloading it at the concept lawn. So it's just a 3-minute walk down to Pebble Beach Lodge, and you'll see it right there.
Beautiful car. So you can check out Sasha's baby down at the concept car lawn. It'll be out there all tomorrow,
Thank
right?
You, Ed.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And then yours is at the house, the Pininfarina house?
Yes, we are on the 70-mile drive, 3410. It's a private event, but luckily today there will be the very first Battista parade ever. There will be a lineup of 10 cars, one of the most exclusive cars of our customer. I was a driver. I will be a driver, so this for me, it's a crazy day. I cannot wait to get there and drive the car. And we are going to make this parade that is passing through Carmel. We go in the Concorso Italiano. We are gonna we're gonna drive to the coast, and we start in this experience from Osteria del Mar. I don't know if you know the place. And this is maybe for all the follower, the perfect moment to spot all Battista all together and see the difference one by one.
Okay, and then Mitja?
Yeah, tomorrow I will have another dream day in front of me. I'm an honorary judge at the field, so it will be fun. And then if my skin is not burnt yet,
you need a hat.
I will go then also to the concept car lawn, because we will join Sasha's car with our Temerario, and tomorrow is special because it will be our lightweight package. So we have here 2 cars. The matte blue one we presented yesterday in the Quay Lodge, and tomorrow there will be the glossy green lightweight pack with a lot of carbon fiber. And please be welcome to see this car.
Amazing. Okay, and then I just want to do one more quick lightning round. Again, very cool class tomorrow on the lawn. It's the wedge supercars. So I don't know if you've seen all of them or at least heard of them that are in the class, but what's your favorite, doesn't have to be on the lawn tomorrow, favorite wedge car of all time, or one from this weekend? And I'll go first. The Pininfarina, the HPX, the Honda.
Oh, yeah.
That one is super cool. If you get a chance to see it, it's got this cool all glass canopy and these amazing strakes on the side. A product of Automobili Pininfarina. Sasha, do you have a favorite wedge on the lawn or just in general?
I have so many favorite wedges. The 512S Pininfarina show car, the Modulo, the Maserati Boomerang, the
Don't take them all. Don't take them all. These guys. Save some for these guys.
I love them all. It's very difficult. Sorry. Giugiaro cars and Gandini cars from that era are just, they're very high on the inspiration list.
Davide?
Yeah, I'm like Sasha. I love all type of car, all the brand, specifically in different eras. But if I have to pick something that is really close my heart, but more today than when I was a kid, is the 250 short wheelbase from the 60 from Pininfarina. It's probably the most terrific, balanced, elegant sports car ever made.
Got a favorite wedge?
Lancia Stratos Zero.
That's a good answer. I mean, so yeah. But I would just say they're all wrong. It's the Vector W8 is the most
cool one.
stunning wedge of all. And because the problem with wedge cars is they usually are great coming at you, and then the back is just sort of, the back of the Vector is even better than the front. And it was driving, I saw the tour, all the wedge cars go by. I mean, I've never driven one. I hear that they're miserable cars to drive. Rest in peace, Jerry. But man, does it stop a show. Right. It's just like, it's awesome.
Okay. So we have about 7 minutes left. Do we have a question in the audience? We have a gentleman right here. Mike is coming to you. Your name, please, sir, and your question.
Hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there.
Yeah, John Duddy. I just wanted to ask a general question. I'll use it Depeche Mode when you reach out and touch faith, but then you get a concept to the time span where you would have an expectation to see that car on the road. Do you have like any expectations yourself about from the time you design it to the time you see that thing driving?
Expectations from the time you put first the idea comes, you put paper to pen, and then see it down the road. I would guess based on how deep Sasha went on that there's a lot of soul-crushing things that happen in that phase, right? At the bigger companies, you might draw something that you really love, and what comes out is either not yours or something very different.
No, I think that the struggle is an essential part. I believe that if you haven't really struggled, the achievement is kind of moot. I really believe that the level of, let's say, emotional turmoil that you go through, it really does help the car ultimately. So I don't want to say I create torturous conditions for myself on purpose, but I do end up choosing paths that take me to places where I just feel, challenged, massively challenged, and then usually that leads to a result that I'm ultimately pretty proud of. I'll give you guys a very brief example. Unloading the car day before yesterday at the ramp to present it to the audience. It was my first time with my own company, and it's my wife and I, and my brother was there, and one more friend, and Nelson Hartley from New Zealand, 4 people. And we're there trying to find sandbags to make sure our beach flags don't fall down, and we're there trying to make sure the car comes out of the trailer in one piece, and there's always stuff that breaks, and we're repairing it and touching up areas of paint. And this level of, I didn't expect that in my 40s I would be starting from scratch in such a major way, and I was pampered in car companies. I had a wonderful career, so zero regrets, but the pain part is very important. It really kind of brings the soul into the product.
Anyone else want to take it, or any other questions we have? Oh,
I mean, I can take it. I mean, just feelings that I have when I see cars that I contributed the design. You know, now I don't know, the first one where I was involved is from 2009. And so, you know, when I sit in the car and I see any car driving past that I was involved, I'm always like, oh God, this should have been better, you know. you see. I mean, all the stories are coming back, you know. I did the Macan. I see the Macan driving, the Porsche Macan, and then I remember when we were modeling the rear end, or I see literally the moment when we did the clay modeling of the car. Yeah, but then I also some details on other cars where you say, this was maybe this was a mistake, but you did it in the next project again, and then our cars where you say, wow, this one is really this is not so bad. Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, we are the ones that are sharing those feelings very deeply inside of us.
Let's do another question.
Hi, my name is Armen. I was actually recently looking today at the Ferrari lineup, and I have to say, a lot of the cars look really similar to each other, and I feel like where is it where can we find a balance between bold and standing out and being unique, but then not super bold, like you have the Cybertruck where it's kind of an eyesore. Where can we find a balance between too bold and too unison, too similar to each other?
This is a great question. So let's go for another hour. And this is great because we allow these gentlemen to talk about Ferrari and you threw in Cybertruck too.
Let's have the Pininfarina guy talk.
Yeah, let's start with Davide and Ferrari because there's some relationship there.
What a curveball. Dude, thank you. First of all, I love all the cars that they do. It's really tough, the work that our colleague Flavio is doing, because he's doing a lot of cars, and you have to surprise everyone, and also you have to, I believe, respect a lot of market. So this is the biggest challenge that I think that he has. So again, I cannot judge, because he's probably the biggest expert in this field, just at the beginning. But of course, taste of the customer counts, and maybe the one that are really connoisseur and they are really, they are loving, or they love so much the heritage, then of course there is a quite marriage between Pininfarina and Ferrari, right? So of course, the one that we love more, or maybe the one that you love more, are connected to the past, but this is the challenge that every designer has. So I believe that any cars, you can fall in love for your perspective, or maybe from the perspective for another customer. And this is the most polite way to answer that.
Real quick, professional car reviewer here. The Roma and the SP3 Daytona are like all-time classics. So you can't build more beautiful cars than those. Those are phenomenal.
But how about,
if I may,
how about Mitja? Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
No, I do believe in strong DNAs of all of our brands. No, I mean we are, I think we are all working in such fantastic brands, and all of them have their place. It's like music. There's Depeche Mode, there is Metallica, there is Madonna, there is, and everyone has his place. So important is, and that's, I learned from Walter de Silva, it's all about the design criteria. So you need to have a design DNA, you need to have a clear mission for your brand, and in Lamborghini, I explained before, it's the silhouette and, everything, it is so recognizable from far away, and this is exactly what Ferrari is doing, what Maserati is doing, and all these fantastic brands are doing. So they have all their place, and they are enriching our car world.
Yeah.
Punto.
And we're over time. If you listen to a previous episode when we had Sasha on, he has his thoughts about the Cybertruck and how bold it is. But anything on Ferrari you want to talk about?
I find Cybertruck much more exciting than most hypercars today, because it's a really brave statement. And when we discuss wedge cars and we celebrate them, I think Cybertruck belongs on that lawn, in my mind, honestly.
Ooh, nice take.
Well, unpopular opinion, I do love old classics. I absolutely love classical beauty, but that thing challenges me in ways that most other cars didn't, and it does so by being pure and not being overstyled. And I think a lot of people forget the fact that in the industry where they complain how everything looks the same, it is actually pretty difficult to come up with something that doesn't look the same. So they should at least be commended on that front. And doing that with a idea of form actually following function to a point. I know there are drawbacks there, but the simplicity and the purity of what they have done, in my mind, could have been a great Lamborghini. That's just me.
All right.
On that note,
that's it. That's all we have time for.
Thank you guys for being a great audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Sasha, Davide, to Mitja for taking the time. And yeah.
The Inevitable Vodcast, brought to you by the all-electric Nissan Ariya. Inspired by the future, designed for the now.